Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 8 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Lorraine Platman, the founder and head chef of Sweet Lorraine's Fabulous Mac and Cheese. And founded in 2010 and franchising since 2013, the Detroit-based restaurant chain offers vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free soups, salads, sandwich wraps, grilled cheese, and over a dozen kinds of meat-topped and vegetarian macaroni and cheese, all made fresh to order. We're going to talk to Lorraine about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 8 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Lorraine Platman, the founder and head chef of Sweet Lorraine's Fabulous Mac and Cheese. Founded in 2010 and franchising since 2013, the Detroit-based restaurant chain offers vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free soups, salads, sandwiches, wraps, grilled cheese, and over a dozen kinds of meat-topped and vegetarian macaroni and cheese, all made fresh to order. Hi, Lorraine. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marty. I'm great, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
It's
we're
my pleasure.
To be on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Lorraine. You know what? When I read about you in QSR magazine, and I go through all these different, franchise magazines and concepts, and I said, that's it. I said, we have to have you on the show. I love macaroni and cheese, and when I heard about this, I thought this was such a great idea. And it's funny when I hear these ideas, Lorraine, I always say, why didn't I think of that? That was really brilliant.
Everybody says that. Everybody says, why didn't anybody else think of this?
Exactly.
And I think
what took so long?
For me, yeah. Oh yes. But you know what? I am a chef, a longtime chef, and I clean food. And when we did come up with my full service restaurant with a 21 experimented mac and cheese recipe, we just kind of went for it after that. We knew it was going to be a hit, and everybody loves mac and cheese.
Everybody loves mac and cheese. I totally agree with that. We always like to ask our guests where you're calling from this morning, Lorraine.
I'm calling from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. That's in the suburbs of Detroit. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And is that where, I guess you could say the headquarters is located, Lorraine, where your headquarters is?
Yes, we're actually headquartered in Southfield, Michigan.
Okay.
And that is where our first full-service location began, and that's where we've got all our offices at this point.
That's fantastic. Maybe we can go back to, the evolution of this whole concept. You were mentioning, how you dream about food, and you think about this all the time. When did I guess you could say, the lightning bulb went off for this concept?
Well, it's interesting. You talk about entrepreneurs and franchise concepts and how that goes together. My husband and I have been entrepreneurs from probably the day we met, which was I was 18 and he was 21, and we always think about the next thing that we want to do.
Yeah.
And the economy, in the U.S. had kind of gone bad about 6 years ago, and then had previously, in Detroit, we were really suffering probably for 10 years. And during that time, we had our full-service restaurants. We were doing consulting work around the country. And that kind of, we were seeing America all over the place and what people liked. And anytime I put mac and cheese onto someone's menu, it was just, everyone said, okay, yes, cool, this is what we want. And we were offered an opportunity to open up another one of our series, Cafe and Bars, which is a full-service restaurant with what I call world-beat cuisine. And it was a large restaurant, and I said, you know what? I don't want to open up a large restaurant. I want to do something small scale. And that's when the epiphany happened. That was when we saw a small space in, it's called Great Lakes Crossing in Auburn Hills. It's at the Taubman Mall. And the person who was showing us around said, well, yeah, we've got some spaces open. And when we told him mac and cheese was the idea, he smiled. And that's what everyone does when we say mac and cheese. We smile.
We have so many listeners. Yeah, we have so many listeners too, Lorraine. That I think would want to get into this type of concept. A lot of times, we do have a lot of the big franchises on the show, and quite frankly, some of them are very, very expensive to get into. So maybe we could talk about how the whole model works. Is it like a kiosk type of model? I remember in QSR magazine they were talking about a kiosk model.
It's larger than a kiosk.
Okay.
It's usually in the food court. It's averaging about 650 square feet. And, which obviously in food courts where your rent is higher because of the amount of, we've got the potential for thousands of people going by us. So we have to pull people in. And an unknown, people look up at mac and cheese and they kind of know what mac and cheese is, but we have to engage the guest, and so we have developed a culture with our staff of just, I kind of call it carny-like. we're yelling out to people and bringing them over because mac and cheese is fun, and we just want to give that people the environment. But that's one of our concepts. And then we have street locations that are around 2,000 square feet.
Right.
We've got one in East Lansing, Michigan, which is the Michigan State University. We have an hour doing right now at University of Michigan, the concession, where we're on two levels. One is the upper echelon level, and we've got lobster mac on that one. And then on the lower regular concessions where all the students are coming through, we're doing about 4 mac and cheeses, and we're doing them as a wrap. So it's very portable, and that people can, at a game, can just pick it up. It's rolled up in a tortilla and with a fork in the middle, so you can eat it as a sandwich or just eat it as if it was out of a bowl. And then we're opening up, an offshoot of mac and cheese to be called Mac and Brews, and that's going to be just a little offshoot. But the smaller ones, though, they're simpler for a first-time franchisee, because in mall locations you don't have bathrooms and windows to, getting window washers and street people to, not street people, I'm sorry, to shovel the snow and things like that.
Sure, exactly.
I like that concept. We're also looking for, we're looking with airports right now because it is portable, and we can change up our equipment package to accommodate the sizes.
That's what I was thinking of, when I was reading about this whole concept. I was thinking of the locations, whether it's colleges or stadiums or airports, and it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, the target audience for macaroni and cheese is huge, isn't it? From, like you say, like the young kids, college kids to doctors, I think, it's just, as you said, it's that comfort food, it really, it's fun and it's delicious, and the concept, it just made sense from a franchise concept because it seems this concept is very easy to duplicate, whether you're in Detroit, Michigan or, Miami, Florida, this concept is easy to duplicate, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I mean, I may be a chef, which most people look at as being someone who is a dreamer, which I am, but I love systems. And my husband actually thought that I was going to be really good at the concept of franchising because I do like systems. I like things to be repeatable. I don't. The moment that I see something isn't working, I change it, and that's what the beauty of opening up in a regional mall was. Is that I was we were exposed to so many people so fast. I was able to daily make the changes that now are 4.5 years later in place.
Wow.
And again, that's a person. I love systems, and I think that's what a good franchisee and a good franchisor wants. It's everything to be repeatable. The offers from the regional malls at this point around the country are showing that people are looking for something new. There's a lot of pizza, there's a lot of burgers, there's a lot of subs, and they want some new items in their malls. So that's exciting.
And that's what I look for too, in bringing guests on to the show, Lorraine, is something different. I can't tell you how many pizza places we've had on the show, doing the show 8 years, and burger places, and then when I saw this, I said, that's it. I said, I got to have Lorraine on the show, so it's fantastic. The menu is great. I mean, what do you look for? I mean, when you go into, your own places, I mean, when it comes to macaroni and cheese, do you have any favorite dishes that you like, or do you like them all?
Oh, since I came up with them, that it's probably the last one I came up with that I'm always excited about. And what we do is we have 14 mac and cheese combinations on the menu, and then we always run a special. And it could be a special salad, seasonal salad, seasonal items. I mean, in Michigan, we don't have a really long growing season, but what we have is diverse, and we're able to put that into the food because we've always been known, Sweet Lorraine's Cafe and Bar, as, we were doing local, natural, and organic 30 years ago, so we were doing before it became trendy, and because we didn't know any better. That was when my husband and I, we got into the business just doing what we wanted, and the same thing I'm doing with the mac and cheese. We've got small batch cheese sauce that we're making. We're buying local as much as possible. No antibiotics. We make our own dressings, and they're made with no colorings or preservatives. And so it's funny. People think of mac and cheese as being well, I hate to say it because it's not true. It's unhealthy. And we've actually been doing all our nutritional values, and we are like at 485 calories for a bowl of mac and cheese. And in comparison to a slice or like a mini, like Pizza Hut, which is nearly 1,000.
Right.
So
wow. That's a big difference, isn't it?
Yes. And people don't realize it, because
the
noodles they're so airy and they're filled with water, and it's not, and it's filling, and so people think that, oh my gosh, it's so decadent in taste, especially with applewood smoked bacon on it, and my husband says everything tastes better with applewood smoked bacon on it, but it's so good. I have to. And I'm sorry, I have to just tell you, because you were telling everybody about what items we make. One of the items you mentioned was grilled cheese. And our grilled cheese is not called grilled cheese, it's called twisted grilled cheese. Because what we did, and again, I didn't want anything ordinary because our pasta, what we're making isn't. And my husband said, you have to do a grilled cheese. You've got cheese and you can bring in just bread. Well, we're doing a twisted, which means we're taking out ooey-gooey cheddar cheese sauce, tossing it with twisted noodles, and then any of the combinations that we make, and we grill it. We griddle it on a panini grill. It's brioche bread, and we're selling those nearly equally in our East Lansing store to the mac and cheese because it's so good.
You're making me hungry. I should have ate breakfast this morning, Lorraine. I didn't eat breakfast, so now I'm like kind of tortured. So, but this is fantastic.
I do like to torture people. I tell them all their options. But what we've done with the menu. You were asking about the menu. We made the menu so that even though we're leading with mac and cheese, we've got say we're in a mall that has a lot of kids. The parents come. The mom wants salad or gluten-free soup, something that she's perceiving as lighter, and the kid gets a kid meal, and it's a kid's mac with a drink and a snack, So we and if we do catering, we've got the salads, we've got the wraps. That make it easy for people to have meetings. We say we love a good party, and that's really what mac and cheese is all about.
I guess that's going to be part of the business too then, Lorraine, right? There are, other income streams, I guess you could say, like the catering. I never thought about that one, but that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, we thought so. Some people, had advised us to only limit the menu, Everybody looks at the Chipotle, format is the one to watch. The thing that we wanted is we wanted the flexibility. We had been in the business for 32 years. We actually had our first place with a deli, and we did a tremendous amount of catering. And what we saw from catering is you need options. For mac and cheese, yes, people can get a couple of trays of mac and cheese, but for a business meeting or even a Sweet 16 or a graduation party, you want more than just that. And we wanted it to be everything to everybody. So, it wasn't, with my experience as a chef, I was able to add the wraps with only bringing in the actual wrap because I just took all the ingredients that I already had and I made them into extraordinary sandwiches.
That's fantastic. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting over time, to see, like 5 years down the road, what are the you can kind of guess, the popular items and, even look at the diversity, I guess, throughout the United States might be a little different, what's popular in one state and city might be not as popular in another place, and that's always fascinating, I find, when you look at that market research. How is technology play a role in the business? Is technology involved in this type of franchise, Lorraine?
Yes, we've been experimenting. Actually, we're going onto our third POS system to help what will be, the existing franchisees and then the future franchisees, and being able to watch and monitor everything from their labor to their food costs on, if not a daily basis, an hourly basis. Because that's one thing in terms of the fast casual segment, is that you usually don't have from the ground up even into your general or your manager for the stores, people that have a tremendous amount of experience with that, and you need all the tools to be able to succeed. And so that's where, like I said, we're looking at we're going to be experimenting and having it set up by the end of the week, I think, with one of our locations with a new POS to give us those options. And, also the equipment, we've actually tried to be as low-tech as possible. The most expensive piece of equipment that we have is our pasta cooker, because the volume of pasta that we do, and that set a timer for 8.5 minutes, and they pull it out and chill it. So it's important to have that. But otherwise, we actually wanted, because of the concept being comfort food, we didn't want microwaves. We didn't want we didn't want the appearance of high technology, because we wanted people to feel that comfort of the old-fashioned. So we've got a salamander broiler that we put the finished mac and cheese on, and it melts in 60 seconds. The guest sees it. It's all guest reaction. They're like, "Oh, my mac and cheese is ready." And, a lot of and we're so like that part of the technology is a little different. We've got video players in some of our stores, and seeing how that works. But being such a new concept, we wanted people to see it, and so they walk by and they can see, the sauce being tossed with the noodles and then the finished product, and and that technology is really good, and that will change out with the specials that we're running, and so they get to see that, and I love that. And then the other part of technology, I think, is probably going more into social media end of technology, and how we can access the Instagramming and doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting how the food industry has utilized social media. It really is fascinating, how it's just had such a big impact on food, hasn't it?
Right. Oh, yeah. And, excuse me, the social media is amazing, and I'm, I don't even know what to say, because it changes every day, and it's a lot of a learning curve for me, but so that's something that we've looked at, that we need to have someone involved in that and someone doing it, and taking charge and ownership of it, because that's the individual stores can't do that. It has to be made somewhere else. And one other thing I was just going to say, that new people coming into wanting to be a franchisee, they do mention something that I always let them know that we have control over, which is security cameras. They want to know how they help control, people maybe with their hand in the register or products. And that, I think, those have got better and better and better. Like, I have the cameras to all the stores on my phone. I just open it up. I see what they're doing. I see what the line is. I see that they don't have enough people, or they have more than enough people, and they should be sending people home. That is what the franchisee gets from having security cameras. So they're not really security cameras anymore. They're great controllers, for someone that's off-site.
Yeah, I think the security, it makes the franchisees feel secure, doesn't it, too? You know what I mean? That technology exists, So I think that is the technology really is fascinating and so important. And I think with social media, the great thing about that too is, a lot of times your customers, they become your greatest sales tool, because they're posting things on Instagram and Facebook and all that other stuff. So that's, I think it's going to be very powerful. In talking about the character, what kind of characteristics would you be looking for then in your franchisees, Lorraine?
I'm sorry, what kind of what? I didn't hear
What kind of characteristics? Like, who do you see as your, ideal franchisees? Is there anything that you look for, like if somebody comes forward and says, I want to be a franchisee, what do you look for at that point?
Okay. This is really an interesting question, because I realized early on that I would not be a good franchisee, and because I am an entrepreneur. So I'm going to want to change up things. I'm going to be overly thinking things. I'm going to be, looking in all sorts of different directions. I think an ideal franchisee is someone that understands that they can run a store, they can do they can customer base, they can excite the area with what they're doing, but they understand that we've got the expertise and that we're going to generate the systems and the goals on a regular basis to where we're going. And I know that may sound limiting, but I think there's a lot of people that realize they want something. It's together. It's a kit,
Right.
So an entrepreneur may not be the most ideal person to be a franchisee.
I think that's brilliant what you said. I mean, because, and it's funny, in doing the show almost 9 years now, I can't tell you how many times I've had the question, people saying, well, you love franchising so much. Why don't you buy your own franchise? And I'm like you having that, entrepreneur in me, I feel like I want to change everything, and reinvent the wheel, and that's great because, franchising is a match for what you guys are doing because you're looking for someone who doesn't want to reinvent the wheel. They want to follow all of the experience that you've had over the last, 3 decades, and particularly working on this, So I think that's so important, and that's why they'll be successful in being a franchisee with your system. How does the training work, Lorraine? I mean, once, you decided that, they're a good match, then what happens at that point? I mean, is there any type of training involved? Is it difficult to learn?
No, it's not difficult to learn. What we ideally, in a perfect world, we have the owner of the franchise come out to one of our existing stores and work, and they can actually go to more than one. It's good to probably see, all of the different permutations because there's different things, a little bit of tweaking here and there for what we're doing to see those. A minimum of 2 weeks, and that's a part of our contractual agreement is that the owner is going to work in a store, ideally a month. But I understand that people have other businesses even other than the franchise, and it may not always be them. It may be just their right-hand person, but we want them to have like a day. If they're not going to be hands-on running it, then they still have to see how it's done, so they can follow up. And what we do is we have quite an extensive hourly training procedure. So we train the franchisee in how we train them. Then we have our culture classes. We call it counterculture, which is because we've got a counter. So, and we go through that. We go through how we do our orientation. How do we maintain the culture that we're developing is a part of training, because that has to be regularly inspirational and,
of course,
allowing the staff to come up with ideas for mac and cheeses that could become on our menu. Eventually, if it sells well and people are asking for it, so that they feel that the team members feel a part of it, and that's a really important part of the culture. That they've got a say in it. Maybe not today or tomorrow that's going to happen, but we'll say, "Wow, that's a really good idea. Let us think and mull over that and see how we can make it work." And then when we do, we let them know we're experimenting with it, so that they can be proud of it and take ownership.
That's the great thing sometimes about the newer concepts too, Lorraine, is that, the franchisees, and not to say they have the power of, coming up with a new product, but they can suggest a new product to someone like yourself. I mean, even McDonald's at one time, I think the Filet-O-Fish idea came from, I think it was a franchisee for one of the McDonald's. But, it is going to be interesting to see some of the ideas that they come up with over the next 5 or 10 years,
And like you said about the regional, ones, like we've got a person that wants to be is signing a contract with us to be a regional developer in Florida. And that being said, Florida is going to have, Floridian flavors, going on in the mac and cheese. And if we have some out in Texas, we're going to have our Texas barbecue, and those are going to be the things that will. And my husband says everything goes good on on mac and cheese, and he's right, because I've done bulgogi, which is Korean beef with sriracha, and I have done Indian. We inspired, chicken tikka. So it's kind of on a wild frontier out there of what we're going to be able to do.
It sounds like this is an exciting time for you and your husband. You've been doing this a long time now, but, even in talking to you and reading about you, you can hear, the passion in your voice about, this franchise, So I think that's fantastic. And I think you're going to find a lot of prospective franchisees, that are hopefully they're just as passionate, about macaroni and cheese, just like yourself, because they're going to, have that appreciation. You've been an entrepreneur for a long time, Lorraine, and the majority of our listeners, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. Most of them do have it in their mind that they want to go into franchising. From all your experience, what advice would you give them? Would you go back to, the whole following the system? It sounded like that was a good, one good lesson.
Aspiring. All right. Don't fall in love with your own ideas.
Wow.
That why I say that is because it takes. Yes, you've got your passion for your idea, but to be able to listen to other people help you develop it into a full concept, that takes taking away the ego and listening to how someone else sees it, and that will make a great product in the end.
And that's interesting too, because I think, in going to a lot of franchise shows over the years, you can see sometimes even, the prospective franchisee, the person looking to buy the franchise, you can see even sometimes how they fall in love with some ideas, you know what I mean? So it is kind of interesting, so I think that's great advice. Where do you see the company, maybe 3 to 5 years down the road, Lorraine? I mean, have you made any projections as far as like how big?
Oh, I mean, we feel that one of our things that we would like to do is to have developers in areas so that we don't have onesie-twosie stores, to fly out to Colorado for one store.
That makes sense.
We can do the same to go out for 5 stores. And that is something we think will make it that some people have failed in the past that I've seen in terms of doing small, they're small and they try to expand and they take one franchisee here and one there, and it doesn't. They divide. Our concept is divide and conquer. We can do it with less people going out to audit the stores if we've got area developers, and also area developers are usually people that have been in the business and understand how to run a franchise operation. So that's one of how we like to grow, but we're open to other ideas also, and we see in the next 5 years over 100 stores.
Wow, that's fantastic. Can you see the concept going international at some point? I mean, you could see it trickling into Canada, of course, and places like that.
We're right across the river from Canada, and that has been something that people have been asking us nonstop. I imagine. And my husband is talking to some people that have got a group together who would like to get the rights to Canada, because Canada is big on mac and cheese. They call it Kraft dinner. Kraft, as in the Kraft box, that is their name for mac and cheese. And we get a lot of, yes, isn't that funny? It's kind of, I never knew this. It's nearly their national dish. They love it. So
that's what I was thinking too, being so close to Canada. It's such a huge market up there. I was thinking, Canada could be almost just as big as the United States. I mean, that's right. That's fascinating. So it sounds like Canada will be the first international country. I
would say, and the international thing is that's a hard one though, because international is international, even though it's across the river from us.
Right.
It's a different country, and the rules and regulations, and even the transportation of the food source. We would have to source everything from Canada to make it work. So that initially, and that the cost of starting up that, we've wanted to spend our energy into, this area right now, and reaching out to like Florida and such, and then we've got the size that we can do the Canadian thing. But we've been asked from Dubai. I mean, people have called us from the Philippines. So it's England now. I am from England originally, and so people think it's a no-brainer that I should open up there. And everything that's American does well there. So that would be a great, a great outlet too. Since I do have kind of dual citizenship. But,
that's great. Well, and it makes sense with the airports, too, right, it gives you a chance to go back and see the family, too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fantastic as a business trip and personal, But you're right, though, with the whole thing with airports, too, you were saying, right? I mean, it sounds like it's a great concept for airports as well, you know what I mean? And in other countries,
and how, parents always want to keep their kids quiet, give them a mac and cheese. I mean, it's going to work.
That's true, I imagine. Well, I have a 7-year-old boy, so I think that would work on him quite well, his macaroni and cheese and grilled cheese and things like that. What's the best way for our listeners, Lorraine, to get more information on becoming a franchisee? Is there one specific website that they can actually go to get more information?
Our website is macandcheese.com, and within that website, it's and that's for everybody out there, it's MAC and then N. Cheeze is CHEEZ, and then .com, and go into that, and it's a franchise clip.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again for coming on the show, Lorraine. You've been a wonderful guest, and I love your concept so much that I'd like to keep following you, and hopefully we can have you come back next year as you continue to grow. I think this is wonderful.
Oh, I'd love to. Definitely love to. Thank you so very much.
It's my pleasure, Lorraine. And we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, Don and I have been hosting Franchise Interviews, approaching that magic number 250, and during that time frame, you can imagine we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Last week, we did a Franchise Rewind with Tariq Fareed, and Tariq is the founder of the Edible Arrangements franchise opportunity. And if you're new to franchising, or if you just started your franchise search, this will really put things in perspective as far as what makes a successful franchisee. So we're going to call this one the Franchise Secret. Do whatever this guy says, and I think you're going to enjoy this one. So, again, enjoy this edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews.
Diversity, too, it sounds like, of your franchisees, Tarek, you know, in studying edible arrangements, you know, I mean, it sounds like it's been lawyers and accountants and just a nice mix, you know?
A very nice mix to a point, even to a point where it surprised us in the beginning. And I remember when we started franchising in the beginning, I had no franchise experience. I mean, I was a retailer, and I was making this product with my brother and delivering it. And you would have people coming up and saying, I want to buy a franchise. And, you know, Don could appreciate this because he's been here for a while. I remember talking to Michael Said and everyone. And, somebody would say, I'm a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. And so they go, wait a minute, you're going to go from a lawyer and cutting fruit? It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
And then we have some of these people in our system right now, and they're very, very successful business people. And I have the utmost admiration for them to... where I kind of was hesitant, and I remember I always share a story with people that I had some people come in the beginning, and I was convincing them not to buy because I really didn't want them to fail.
Right.
And I thought they had good careers and things like that, but they turned out to be incredible franchisees where they own 5, 6, 7 stores, so they do great.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of if you just follow the system, no matter what your background is, and usually age might not have to do with it much either. Of course, the older you are, more experienced, maybe you have a little bit of an advantage, but really you just follow the system, you train them and everything, very high chance of being successful.
And that's really the secret. I mean, we do our discovery days, and I always try to share that with even the prospects. So whatever system you go into, there's a reason you're buying a franchise. And one of my most successful franchisees, who was our third store, I walked into his store after about a year of convincing him how to do it, and he always, he was a successful businessman before that, and he always gave me a bit of a hard time. And then, he kind of saw that we were going in a certain momentum, and he started to follow, and he sat in front of his whole crew one day and said, okay, guys, from now on, whatever these guys say goes. However they say it, we do it. We don't question it, and when their trainers come in or they come in, and he is the most successful franchisee in our system. He is single-handedly the most successful franchisee in our system. And all it is that as he's duplicated, his concept from 1 store to 2 to 3 to 4, he followed that simple formula. And, the burden was on us to make sure that we provide him the solutions, provide him the support, be it him, his managers, and from that he benefited. And he's, he may have 1 or 2 years of experience of running the stores. We had 5 or 6 by then. So that's exactly what it has done, and it does work every time.
Yeah, that's a great story, Tarek, because it's been a common theme on our show, Don, hasn't it, where we've had some of the most successful franchisees to some pretty big systems, and they've all said the same thing, Tarek, is all they did was just follow the system, they didn't change anything, and became very successful, so that's great to hear.
And especially if it's working, if you're getting on board a system that is working, that is growing, what do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
absolutely.
Why do anything? Just take advantage of it. And I always use that analogy of with some of our franchisees to say, I hate to take it down to this level, but it is kind of a kindergartner/6th grader effect, where I've been in this building 6 years, so I kind of know every corner and the nook and cranny, and I know how the principal, what he likes and what he doesn't like. You need to learn, so let me teach you. So you're coming in, and then you see some incredible transformation. We have some incredible stories, and I'm sure every franchise system does. And the success that we have, it has to do with these great franchisees that we've had that have taken on and actually listened and applied some of the policies and procedures and technologies and other things that we created to make them successful.
I guess, Tarek, sometimes yourself or your staff, if you see a prospect maybe sometimes a little too entrepreneurial, I guess you really have to speak to them to let them know that it might not be a fit with your company.
We used to do. I remember in the beginning doing that a lot to let people know that I love your passion, I love your energy and everything, but you keep talking about your experiences and how you've done stuff. There may be a bit of a conflict there. We may always get into a bit of a tussle. So you have to look at this, that we have systems and standards, and we've experimented with these. We've actually mastered them, and we've proven them at multiple times. So you may want to turn around and try it a different way, but it's really not going to work. More, not necessarily only for yourself, but for the total success of the system, because there is consistency and everything, and we know what's going to work. So we have those conversations, but once you get to a certain number, a certain mass in your system, that comes up less and less. And I think there's a class of prospects or franchisees or new owners that start coming to you after a while to say, look, I want to duplicate what you've done. How do I do it? And they don't want to turn around and start from scratch. And that was great when we started to get a lot of existing franchise prospects, meaning they were in other systems, and when they came into our system, they found success very, very quickly because they had gone through those processes, and we gave them some tools that they did not have before, and they saw some benefits that they had not seen before, or had already gone through the process where we didn't really need to explain, and they turned their stores around very, very quickly.
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next week with another edition of Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.